Hello everyone, welcome back to Valley and Mist Block of the Month. I'm Adriane Ritter.
And I'm Shelley McNeely.
And we are back here with our December 2025 Block of the Month. And this is the last block of our 2025 season, our houses. But I do have a confession to make. Shelley and I actually recorded this video yesterday. And when I was reviewing the videos, realized that for a couple of the first parts of it, we had an audio issue. So we're redoing it. So this is our second take, but because of that, we don't have our unsewn pieces. I did offer to unsew mine, but you know, I've had to do a bunch of that in the last few videos. So we said, no, we'll just be up front here. Anyway, so continuing our house blocks, this one is called the two-story house. And Shelley is going to go over the fabric that we need.
Okay, so this year for our last block, this is our focus fabric if you're going to turn in your blocks for the drawing. And it's called Poppies Tie Dye by Island Batik. And you can purchase the fabric at the meeting. Hopefully you're already good since we're at December. But if you're not doing this for the guild, you can use any focus fabric or anything you want. And we're using this focus fabric for the doors. Okay, so let's start with what we have for this block. So the door, the focus fabric, is one piece that's 2 by 3.5. Then for the sky, you have one piece that's 1.5 by 4.5, and that's on the left side of the chimney. And then there's one piece that's 1.5 by 7, and that's on the right side of the chimney. Then one piece that's 2.5 by 3.5, and that's on the right side of the roof. Then there's two pieces that are 2 inches by 2.5 for either side of the trunk. Then there's 4 2 7/8 inch squares.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep.
2 7/8 inch squares, and those are for the half square triangles that are for the roof and the tree. Then there's one that's 1.5 by 8.5, and that's on the left side of the house. Then there's one that's 1.5 by 12.5, and that's at the top of the house. And both of those are ones that you might want to wait to cut just in case you're off.
In case your block is a little small.
Right. Now for the house, we need 3 pieces that are 1.5 by 3.5, and those go by the windows. Then there's one that's 1.5 by 7.5, and that's above the door. Then there's 2 2-inch squares, and those go below the upper windows. Then there's one that's 2 by 2.5, and that goes below the lower window. Then 3 2-inch by 3.5 inch that are left of door and by upper windows.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, some of them are very similar in size,
Yeah.
so you'll have to, when you lay it out, you'll figure it out. Okay, then for the roof, you have 1 2 7/8 inch square, and that's for the half square triangle. Then one that's 2.5 by 5.5. Then for the tree, we need 3 2 7/8 inch squares, and those are half square triangles. Then for the trunk, you need one that's 1.5 by 2.5. And then for the window, 2 that are 2-inch squares. Those are for the upper windows, and one that's 2 by 2.5 for the lower window. And then for the chimney, you need one that's 1.5 by 2. And then there's an accent piece that goes on the house, and that's 1.5 by 7.5.
And regarding that accent piece, we did have it match our roof, but that's an option. You don't have to.
Right.
Sometimes there's a lot of different colors, and you just don't have that many colors to choose from, or so.
Yeah.
So as long as it still, makes the house look like the house, you're fine.
Right.
Okay. Was there anything else? Oh, I did want to mention in the block, we probably won't talk a lot about the pressing, but when we do, then you should probably follow those instructions. And the main thing with this block is for the half square triangles, and we are pressing all the seams open around the half square triangles, and that will help you not have a lump. And then the other thing is while we do have some areas where you can adjust a piece size if your block is a little small, please try to sew with a scant 1/4 inch seam just to make sure you're not having that trouble. And the final size of this block is 12.5 inches, 12 inches finished. So that extra 1/2 inch is your seam allowance. I think that was all of our starting info, right?
I think so. I think so.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to have you do is to make your half square triangles. Now we have a separate video on half square triangles called Half Squared, and you can go look at that, but I'm going to give you a short overview of half square triangles. The basic thing is you can draw a line down the diagonal, put them right sides together, your two pieces of fabric, they're going to make the half square triangle. In this block, it's always going to be a sky piece and either a treetop piece or a roof piece. Those are those 2 7/8 inch squares. Draw a line down the diagonal of the sky piece, and with them right sides together, you're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from that line. And after you do that, then you, on either side of that line, and after you do that, you're going to cut on that diagonal line. Now you have two pieces that are these half square triangles. You're going to press the seams open on that, and they're going to be, they may be exactly the right size, which is 2 1/2 inch square, but they might be a tiny bit bigger. And so you need to trim them down to the 2 1/2 inches. And to do that, you're basically going to put, now pretend like this is 2 colors of fabric. Maybe I can fold it back. Okay, so you're going to have some flags at the top, but you're going to put a ruler on this diagonal down here, a 45-degree line, and you're going to trim off 2 corners very scantly, just what you have to. And then you're going to turn it around and put that ruler on the line again and measure the 2 1/2 inches and trim it down to that. Okay, so once we have those half square triangles made, you can set those aside for a minute. We don't need them till the next step and later on. But the next step we're going to do is building the chimney piece.
Right.
Now we're going to ignore this top piece. It's actually going to be this top piece of sky. It's actually the last piece we're going to add on at the end of the block. So for now, set that aside, and Shelley's going to talk about the chimney.
So now you're just going to need the 2 pieces of sky that we cut for the chimney and the chimney. Just sew those 3 pieces together, and you have that.
And they're all the same width. They're that 1 1/2 inches, right?
Right.
And so,
but one of them is longer than the other. So
yeah. So on the
when you sew it right now, it doesn't matter. It just matters when you're putting it
put
together.
one on either side of the chimney. Okay. So normally we would have paused right here while you do that, and then come back with our sewn piece. So you might want to pause the video and sew that. But once you have that done, the next step is this part of the roof that is just this row right here. So first of all, make sure you orient this chimney so that it's going to be in the middle of the roof. And you'll see that after we make the roof. The short side goes to the left. I'm very challenged with left and right. Goes to the left, and the longer piece to the right, because that extends out over the tree. Okay, so Shelley, how do they make the roof part?
Okay, you take your roof piece and you sew a piece of one of the half square triangles to either side of that.
Make sure you're orienting it correctly.
So it looks like a roof.
Yeah.
And then after you do that, then you add on the piece that goes of sky that goes. Can't remember how we described that one, but it goes on the roof against the roof piece.
But before you do that, after you sew those 3 roof pieces together, the half square triangle on either side, Shelley wants you to measure how big that piece is, and it should be
2 1/2 by 9 1/2.
And if it's not 9 1/2, then this piece on the end that you're going to add, you need to cut bigger, because
you want this to be 12 1/2 inches long when you're
right. So we've told you to cut it 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. But if this is not 9 1/2, then you need to add to that 3 1/2, whatever you're missing. Right. So you're good.
Right. And then after you have that, then you sew the chimney piece to the top of that. And then you're going to have a piece that's 3 1/2 by 12 1/2.
Right. And I'm looking at mine, and even those are half square triangles. I think you could either press it open as you put these seams on by the roof, or you can press them how it wants to go.
I think I pressed it towards the roof, and I think it worked out okay.
Yeah, okay. All right, so when we come back, we're going to be ready to start building the house. Okay, so we have our chimney and roof done, and what are we going to do next?
Okay, we're going to do what we're going to call the upper part of the house.
The second story.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so how are we doing that?
Well, I would approach it by sewing the windows to the part that's below it for both sections.
Yeah, mine you can't really see. There is a window here. Okay.
And then sew the pieces on. The centerpiece is smaller. So then you sew all the pieces together across this row.
Right.
And after you've done that and you have that piece together, then you sew what we're calling an accent.
The accent piece.
On the bottom. And then that piece now, all that piece together now is going to be 4.5 by 7.5.
Okay. So obviously when you sew the window and this piece of house together, they should match across here. And if you so that's a good gauge if your seam allowance is going well.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to come back and have that second story sewn together. All right, we have that second story built. What's next?
The lower story.
Okay.
Okay, so same approach this time. We're going to sew the window to the house piece below it. Then we'll sew across and sew all these pieces together. The wider piece here is on the left side. Okay, and the other two pieces are the smaller pieces, one in the middle and one on the other side. And after you sew that together, you sew the piece of the house above it. And here, and then again, that piece is going to be 4.5 by 7.5.
So the top story and the bottom story, when they're done, are the same size.
Yes, and then we sew that, once you have that done, sew that to the top piece. And that piece will be 8.5 by 7.5.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the house pretty much made.
Right.
What's next?
The tree.
Okay.
So we're going to have to sew together these half square triangles, 3 layers here. Sew each one together, then sew all each one to each other.
Remember, these are half square triangles, so we press the seams open.
Then the trunk, sew together the trunk on either side of the sky, and then sew it to the bottom of the tree.
Okay.
We've made these already, so you should kind of know what this is.
We made them earlier this year.
Right,
Yeah.
earlier this year, when we're doing this. And the tree now should be 4.5 inches by 8.5 inches.
Okay, so it should be the same height as our house part here without the roof.
Right, and there's really no adjustment, so you're going to have to adjust
Well,
your seams or something. Well, you could.
There was this adjusting piece on the side.
Yeah, I mean the tree.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, you could if it's too big, you can always cut off the trunk a little. But
Yeah, yeah. Don't cut off the points of the tree. Okay, so we'll come back with the tree ready. Are we sewing that to the side of the house or no?
Not
That's
yet.
Not yet. Okay. All right, just make your tree. It's a nice looking tree.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so are we ready to finish this baby up?
I think so. It's just a few more seams, and they're pretty easy ones. So
Okay,
let's do that.
So we have some correcting things in case we need them, and you're going to go over that too, right? Yeah. Okay.
First of all, let's sew the tree onto the house, onto the right side of the house. Okay?
Correct.
Okay, then, the house and tree should be 11.5 inches wide. Okay, we haven't added anything for height, so just 11.5 inches wide.
So if it is,
right, if it is, you're great with the piece that, the sky piece we told you about.
On the side.
Yeah, if not, you have to adjust it.
So
Sew
if you're
that on.
short if you're not quite,
Right.
what's it, 11.5?
But it's, I think
Yeah,
it's
and if it's
1.5
not,
wide.
it's not 11.5, then whatever you're missing, you need to add to the width of this
Right,
piece.
right.
Okay.
So so let's add that piece on. Sew this together and this together.
And now you're 12.5.
You're
right?
now 12.5. Now, and then sew that onto the roof.
Okay.
Now all that added together is 11.5 by 12.5.
So we're almost there. One more inch. We need another inch of
Okay.
height.
Okay, if you don't have the 11.5, here's another place to adjust. And if you don't need to do that, then just sew this last piece of sky on. And we're done.
Right. So if you sew that all together, you're at 11.5. The size we gave you originally is the right size, which is 1.5. But whenever you're short, it's there. Add it on. If you're long, I would suggest you cut it off the bottom.
Right, I would
Okay,
too.
don't make this piece any smaller.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to come back with our finished block. All right, there is our finished 2-story house. 12.5 by 12.5. It was pretty easy for once. In the last few blocks, I didn't turn something upside down. I did forget to mention at the end of the last video when we came back for the row houses. I had one of my houses upside down, and then I fixed it before we came back. But I was going to mention it, and I forgot to. I wasn't trying to hide anything.
It's always things happen.
They do. They do. And it was really especially funny because I had said to Shelley, don't sew one of your roofs onto the bottom of your house, and then I did it. But anyway, nothing happened this time.
Yeah.
So these blocks are due at the January meeting. I hope you have enjoyed making these house blocks as much as we have. We had a very fun time this year, and we're really looking forward to next year. You'll have to come back next month. Just find out what our surprise is. We're not doing an early reveal this year, and I think we did a good mix of houses this year.
Right.
It is kind of an interesting neighborhood because not many neighborhoods have a lighthouse in the middle of them, but
maybe the houses are on a beach.
on a lake. Yeah, maybe.
Or,
and the lighthouse is in the middle. So
and a place where you go camping and
there's
there's lots of birds and
So anyway.
And there's dogs.
Yeah. Or I guess it could be any kind of pet house. We called it a dog house, right?
Put your pig in there.
Yeah, it could be a pig house or a goat house. All right, so that's it for this year, and we will see you next year.